to talk about variables in Java. In the last video, we had created a project and we had seen how to install the IntelliJ IDEA. And let's get started. So since the last video, there is a new version out. It is called IntelliJ IDEA 2020.3. So I'm going to start it now. It might take a bit of time on my computer. Hopefully you have an SSD. So this is the new version, and once it starts we'll go through creating a project again. The only thing you have to do is click on new project. If you have completed downloading the SDK last time, it will show you open JDK 50. Just click on Java and you can click next. Leave this one as it is, we don't need it, and let's call this project Java with DBC. So I'm DBC. Yep, thank you. Let's click finish. Okay, so the IntelliJ IDEA is creating the project for us now. When it starts, it usually looks like this. If you have been working on it for quite some time, you will be familiar with it. If not, don't worry about it for now. As we progress through this video course, we will learn about a lot of things that we can do in IntelliJ IDEA. Right, so the project is now loaded, and on the left hand side, hopefully you can see this project name. Right, so this is the main folder that the IntelliJ creates for us. Everything that we create will be inside this project. So what we have to do now is just click on this little arrow and it will show you an SRC folder. If you go to your file explorer, you can see this Java with DBC or anything that you have named. That folder is right there. Inside that folder, there is actually a folder called SRC. Now, as we would do with any programming language, to start writing the code, we would need to create a file. So how do we create a file? We just click on this SRC folder and then we right click it. It loads up a context menu. It usually takes a bit of time, and this is the context menu. We will click on new, and as you can see, it gives us an option for creating a Java class. We will select this and it will ask us for the name of the Java class. The only thing we need to know about naming a class in Java is we start the name of the class with a capital letter. So here we will use main. Notice that I have written main with a capital M. This denotes that this main is actually a class. We will press enter and IntelliJ creates the file for us, main.java, and inside it automatically writes public class main. Right. So for now, let us understand this as everything that we write in a Java code is usually written in a class. There are other things as well, but we'll not go in detail in that. We'll stick with the class concept for now, and we will write our code in this class. Right. So what I'll do is I'll turn on a setting which will make this code a little bit more visible to you. Now what we do is we click after the curly brace and we press enter and we write something like this, PSVM. When you write PSVM, IntelliJ will give you a pop-up like this. It understands the syntax that we are writing and we can simply press enter. It writes something like this: public static void main. if you are familiar with any type of programming, specifically C or C++, you will recognize this main. This is analogous to the main function that you have been writing. Everything that is executed in a Java program is done with the help of this main method. Furthermore, you can see that it has created, or rather it is showing a nice little green triangle to the left side of the main method. If we click this, it shows a little pop-up menu where we have a lot of options of running this program. So let us try this. We'll click on the run option and it is compiling our Java program and it will show us the output like this. Since we have not written anything inside this, it is showing blank, right? Usually the output is shown here, right? And the usual process finished with exit code 0. That denotes that everything was successful, compilation was done successfully, and everything is done, right? So let us start with variables. What are variables in Java? Why do we need variables? What are the benefits of creating a variable in Java, or rather in any programming language, right? So let us understand it like this. If you are creating a program, what does the program actually do? It usually deals with some kind of values and it processes those values for us to create some meaningful results. And if the program actually wants to store the value, it does that in a variable. So we can think of a variable like a box that is containing something. So if you have some boxes in your home, you can store something in that box, and that can be anything, right? If you have a ball, if you have a tennis ball, you usually store it somewhere, preferably in a box, right? If you order something from Amazon, it comes nicely packaged in a box, right? Similar is the concept of variables in programming languages. We have different types of variables or boxes to store different types of values, right? So we can simply define a variable like this. A variable is something that stores a value in a programming language. Here the programming language of our choice is Java. I'll get rid of this output window and we can see we have our main method, and let us try creating a variable in this main method. For creating variables, we have something called general syntax. So what is the general syntax? General syntax is the code or is the template of the code that you will always write whenever you want to create a variable in Java. And the general syntax for creating a variable is, first we will write the data type, right? The data type will tell us the type of the value we want to store. The next is name of the variable. We will use this name to refer to this value, and the last part is initial value, right? So suppose we have created a variable, we are saying that there is a box and we want to put something in the box right out the start, right? We do not want to leave the box empty, so we can start the variable with the initial value, right? So how do we use this? We write it like this: data type, then space, then name, then we usually write an equals operator, then we write the initial value, and afterwards we write a semicolon. So similar to you write a full stop at the end of every sentence in English or a purna viram in Hindi, we write a semicolon at the end of every statement in Java, right? So let us go deep into these data types and everything, and how do we create a variable and everything associated with it, right? Please bear with me, this is going to be a long video, but everything associated to a variable you will be able to learn here in this video only, right? Okay, so if we say that we have a value, right, what is the very first type of value that comes into your mind, right? Generally it is a number, right? And in Java, if you see, the Java language recognizes a lot of type of numbers, right? As in mathematics we have numbers that are whole numbers, right? Some numbers that have a decimal point, right? So these whole numbers or integers, if you know, are written as int. If you want to say that I have a value that is integer, so in Java we write it with an int, right? So let us use this. We will store an integer value in our program by creating an integer variable, right? So we'll do that. Int, see, the following the syntax, the data type, and then the name of the variable, right? So we can write it anything. Usually if you have seen some books or references, you will see it like this, a, right? Personally I feel that a is not a very good name for a variable. I have ranted about it for about 7 or 8 years. If you have studied with me, I'm sorry, but you have listened to my rant for quite a long time. But the problem with writing a variable name like A, B, C, X, Y, Z is, after a while you'll not be able to recollect why you created this variable or what type of value or what particular value this variable is actually storing, right? So instead we try to write a meaningful name for this. For example, if I want to store my class roll number, right, I will not name it A. It is very counterproductive. What we will do is we will call it roll number. So we will write roll, and the next word will be like this, roll number, right? I'll put out a separate video of what we are doing in this name. It is called a naming convention, but let's just stick to this, and we'll write is equal to, and my class roll number was always it. I don't know how it happened. Was there some black magic at work or something like that, but every time it used to be 8 only. So I have told my computer program that okay, I have an integer value and I am storing this integer value in an integer box or an integer variable, and the name of the box is roll number. So whenever I have to use this 8 value or this particular value, I can simply say roll number. The compiler will understand, okay, I'm talking about this particular value because I have created a variable for it, right? So this is the way the compiler or the programming language understands how to store values, right? Whichever language you think about, it might be C, C++, Java, Python, Go, Kotlin, Ruby, Perl, Lisp, any language out there has the concepts of variable with a similar purpose, right? Storing some value, right? So we said that okay, if we have an integer number, we can write it like this, int roll number is equal to that value. Now in integers also we have different types of integers, right? This is a simple integer written as int. Now what happens is Java also recognizes an integer value with a lesser range, right? The usual range of integer is quite large. I'll show you near the end of this video, but we can also write an integer as short. Short, my age is, let's say, 42, right? Right, so if you want to store smaller numbers, we can write it as a short. It is an integer also, but it will not be able to store integers after a certain point. If we try to do it like this, after a certain while, the IntelliJ gives us an error. Let me just go back and like this, right? So it says write this. So basic point of this is we only have a certain type of range associated with data type. If you want to go further down, if you want to say integers with an even lesser range, we can say byte sized, right? Okay, let's say current hour is equal to 12, right? Similar to the short integers, we have something called the long integers as well. Let's say contact number, and we'll say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 0 and done, right? So these are the 4 types of integer values we can store in a variable in Java. Next up are the numbers that have a decimal point, right? Very simple one is the float or the floating point, right? We will write it like this, floating point number, right? We can say float, let's say by 3.14, right? And we can say float, right? So as you can see, writing the f at the end is needed, right? The f at the end is denoting that this value in fact is a floating point number. Similarly to floating point numbers, we can say double, total amount is 340 rupees 56 paisa, right? We can put a optional d at the end to say that this is a decimal number, right? So we have seen, if you want to store integer numbers, we have these 4 data types: int, short, byte and long. If you want to store floating point numbers or decimal numbers, we can say float and double, right? So up until now we have seen 6 type of data types in Java. Next up is the character data type. Character, my gender is equal to, and we will store a character data, right? So quite intuitively you will write it like this, right? But IntelliJ or any Java compiler will fail to understand this, right? So how do we tell this compiler that this is in fact a character? We put a single quote around the character, right? If you have any value that is a single character, you can simply store it as a character variable in Java. And the final one is called a boolean, which stores a true or false value. Is this video very long? True. Right? So these are the 8 data types that Java understands right out of the box. They are also called primitive data types in Java. Total 8 types. Sorry, not asterisk types, 8 types. Which 8 types? Integer, short, byte, long, float, double, char and boolean. Right? And as promised, I'll try to show you the range for the data types in Java. Right, so bear with me. I'm going to write some code. You might not understand it now, but let it just be. Right, so first is the byte data type. We can say minimum value to byte byte dot maximum value. If we run this code, the compiler will tell us the minimum value, the lowest value and the highest value that the byte data type can store. It is -128 to 127. So if we try to store anything lower than that byte, let's say number of laptops, or let's say MacBooks I have is equal to 128, right? So it is not letting me do it, right? It says the number 128 is out of the range. Byte cannot store 128. Or if I try to say -129, right? Similar. I cannot store a number which is not defined inside the range. It can be the last number of the range, that is no problem. I can say 127, which is not at all true, but yeah, it does the trick. So similarly, we'll say okay, right there we have short dot minimum value to short dot max value. It will show us the minimum and maximum value for short data type. So it is -32,768 to 32,767. That is the amount of numbers we can store. Right, great, okay. So let's see byte short, let's see integer min value to integer dot max value. Okay, right. So we have an even bigger number. So this is byte, this is short, and this is integer, right? You can pause the video and you can take in the huge difference in the ranges of this data type, right? So we'll go to the next type, which is long min value to long dot max value. Right, so this is the sheer, the greatest number that the long data type can store, right? So you can see that there is a specific purpose for every data type, right? If we have a number that exceeds a particular data type, we can use the next greater data type to store the number, right? Similarly, we have the range for float also, min value to float dot max value. Right. It says 1.4 e to the power -45. So that means e or 10 to the power -45. So it's 1/10 and 10 to the power 45. 1.4 into 1/10, 10 to the power 45 to 3.4028 e to the power 38. So 3.4 into 10 to the power 38, right? So those numbers can be stored in float. Let's see what changes when we use the double data type, max value. Okay, so we'll compare the float and double, right? So from -45 to -324, right? And +38 to +308, right? The sheer difference in the amount, right? My God. So next is the character dot min value, and it will be, I think it might not be visible on the output. Let's see. I will do something. No problems. Right. Yeah, it usually does that. So what we'll do is we'll surround it with a single quote to make it visible. Let's do that, and we'll say this. Don't worry about the syntax that I'm writing now. It is an advanced topic. We'll go through it in the later videos. But as you can see, the first character is there, but it is actually not printing. It is called a non-printable character, right? The second one is actually there, but there is a box. Why? Because the operating system on my laptop does not actually support the character. It means it does not have a font that can display this character, but it is actually there, right? And the very last one is Boolean. Unfortunately, Boolean does not have a range, but what it does have is simple two values, true and false, right? So the Boolean data type actually only stores two values, either true or false, right? So that is the very gist of variables and data types in Java, right? The data types that we have covered are only primitive data types. We have a whole lot more data types in Java called reference data types, but that is the subject for another video, right? This video has gone on long on enough as quite as it is, so I don't want to make it any longer. So we'll stop right here. Thank you for watching this, and we'll meet again next time. Thank you very much.